Yeah, you're right, there's no, these are things that sound hard, but like, what, was on last. No, they're not. The program about the block and all the wall. I think the program, but I kind of works really special. Okay. I like to think it, like I had the conversation, I think would do it. I was like, I was a couple steps above knowledge base. That's my excitement. Science.
There's always a surprise.
Hey,
Yeah.
I got, my dog was penny. So then we had like.
It stinks though. As long as we get lucky, I guess.
It
turns people that we get from when
Good morning and welcome to the Maryland Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for today, May 18th, 2022. No announcements to begin today. So we'll start with the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on May 2nd. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Meeting minutes are approved. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. There are 3 items on today's consent agenda. Item number 1 is a notification of name change from Envian Energy LLC, FKA Hospital Energy LLC. Item number 2 is an application from Objective Energy Services LLC for a license to supply electricity. And item number 3 is a notice from GC Pivotal LLC of indirect transfer of control.
Do commissioners have questions on any of these items? Seeing none, I would move that with respect to item number 1, that we note the name change. With respect to item number 2, we grant the company a license to operate as an electricity supplier in Maryland, limited to broker services for the customer classes and service territories applied for, recommended by staff, and direct the company to provide marketing and training materials specific to its Maryland operations to commission staff 30 days prior to utilization of the materials in Maryland, and direct the company to file notice with the commission within 30 days of any changes to the information in its application. And finally, with respect to item number 3, I move that we note the indirect transfer of control of GC Pivotal LLC. The vote begins with Commissioner Linden.
Aye.
Commissioner O'Donnell. Aye. And Commissioner Richard. Aye. I vote aye. The motions are approved.
Mr. Chairman, item number 4 on the administrative agenda is a request from TPE Maryland Solar Holdings 2 LLC for a waiver of a co-location restriction for 2 low or moderate income community solar projects in Garrett County, Maryland.
Thank you. Good morning to our staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Roger Austin on behalf of staff. TPE Maryland Solar Holdings 2 LLC, which I shall refer to as TPE Holdings, is proposing to build 2 2-megawatt community solar projects on a portion of a 178-acre unzoned parcel of land in Garrett County. The projects will connect to the Potomac Edison Company's electric distribution system. COMA Regulations 20.62 20.62.03.08a do not allow PE to accept 2 2-megawatt community solar projects located on the same parcel of land. However, new COMA Regulations 20.62.03.08e, which became effective on March 21st, 2022, allow for the developer of these projects to petition the Commission for a waiver of this restriction if the combined capacity of the projects do not exceed 4 megawatts and if 100% of their output will be for the benefit of low and moderate income electricity consumers. If these 2 conditions are met, the Commission may grant the waiver of the co-location restriction for good cause shown. On March 8, 2021, TPE Holdings filed a petition asking the Commission to provide a waiver that would allow it to build the 2 2-megawatt community solar projects on the same parcel of land. It is clear that the combined capacity of the 2 projects that TPE Holdings is proposing to build will not exceed 4 megawatts. Additionally, in its filing, TPE Holdings states that 100% of the project's output will go to low and moderate income subscribers. Therefore, the conditions have been met for the Commission to consider granting TPE Holdings waiver request for the co-location of the 2 2-megawatt projects for good cause shown. The company has provided 5 reasons which, when taken together, staff concurs provide good cause for granting the waiver. First, waiving the restriction would allow double the amount of community solar capacity to be available to low and medium income residents in Garrett County from 4 to 2 megawatts. Staff notes that one of the principal goals of the community solar pilot program is to provide renewable energy benefits for the low and moderate income consumers. Second, the economies of scale that could be gained from the 2 megawatt projects could help the traditionally low value of solar credits in PE's service territory to be competitive with PE's electricity rates. Third, the projects will be built in an area of Garrett County that is unzoned, which means that there are no regulations permitting or prohibiting the use of solar. Fourth, the projects enjoy the support of the Garrett County government, local organizations, and local residents. And the 5th reason, which is related to the 2nd reason given, is that the company states that the per megawatt cost to upgrade PE's electric distribution system in order to connect just 1 2-megawatt project makes the project economically unfeasible. PE's feasibility study shows that the per megawatt cost to connect 2 projects will be lower if both projects are built. For these reasons, staff recommends that the Commission grant the company's request for a waiver of COMAR 20.62.03.08a to allow the co-location of 2 2-megawatt low and moderate income community solar projects for good cause pursuant to COMAR 20.62.03.08e.
Thank you, Mr. Austin, for a comprehensive presentation. Council for TPE.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. David Bugelmans on behalf of TPE Maryland Solar 2, or excuse me, TPE Maryland Solar Holdings 2 LLC. Also have with me Ms. Franny Uhas, the Managing Director of Development for Turning Point Energy. We have nothing to add to Mr. Austin's comprehensive presentation, but we're here to answer any questions about the filing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Beaglemans. Questions from the commissioners? Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gregor, let me ask you, if I might, as counsel. So in a lot of instances, we see requests for deadline extensions, for solar developments. We see Mr. Beagleman's a lot of these. And I'm going to ask you a precedential relating question. Are we setting precedent here? Do you think we're setting precedent by granting this waiver? Because the reasons I heard offered for good cause shown was doubles the output. Well, I can do math. 2 times 2 is 4. Serves low and moderate income. Well, that's the whole purpose of the waiver. It's not prohibited locally and it's supported locally. Those are listed as two separate good causes. And it's more economical to connect. Well, if I take the totality of those 5 reasons for good cause shown, it seems like it would be hard for me to ever reject one of these requests for waiver. What say you?
Good morning, Commissioner. Once again, James Gregor on behalf of staff. So in the sense that this is a novel issue and that the regulation was just passed in March of this year, in that sense, it would be a precedent setting. However, each of these items would be analyzed on an individual basis. So in the sense that if the commission determines that these good causes that have been listed by the company are sufficient, that kind of sets a standard.
My point exactly. They're very low bars. And so it sets the precedent at very low bar.
I would
In my
also,
opinion.
yes, Commissioner. But I would also note that this specific waiver was carved out in the regulations specifically for this item. So
Discretion, this precedent could tell this commission's discretion in the future to reject such a waiver request because this is going to be pointed to probably repeatedly by Mr. Bugelmans, as we did it here. Did it here for TPE Maryland Solar Holdings. Now you got to do it all the time.
yes, Commissioner, but I would disagree that it would curtail the commission's ability to reject these in the future. So the commission would always have the ability to.
I agree academically, but in terms of practicality, what basis will we have to reject one if we approve this one? That meets the same standards, same low bar standards, in my opinion.
I see your point, Commissioner. Yes. So in the sense that this is the first time we've seen this item, it is setting a bar for future items of this nature. I would note that the commission always has within its authority to approve or deny waiver requests of this nature. It's for good cause shown, and it's the commission that will determine whether or not that good cause exists.
I understand, but I think the good cause is thin. That's Mr. Bugelmans. Can you defend your good cause shown? You got doubles the output. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, correct? Serves low and moderate income customers, correct? Because the waiver only applies to low and moderate income customers. Not prohibited locally. Okay. We have citing authority, right? Preemptive citing authority. It's supported locally. Okay. We still have preemptive citing authority. And it's more economical to connect. Well, so it's 6 megawatts or 10 megawatts or 50 megawatts be more economical to connect one time instead of 25 times. Okay, what do you say? What defend your good cause? Because it doesn't seem very
Right. So
substantial.
there is a lot to unpack there, Commissioner. I understand your point about the 5 items and how they can interplay with other requests, but this really is project and utility specific. This project is proposed to be located in Potomac Edison service territory, where there's a demonstrated issue where there have not been a substantial number of LMI projects. So this project would double or more than double the LMI capacity in Potomac Edison's service territory. Part of that has to do with Potomac Edison's lower electric rates. So obviously that's a benefit potentially generally to ratepayers. But for these projects, it's made the economics more difficult. So that is a distinguishing factor. Those are distinguishing factors that are different than a project at BGE or a different service territory. With respect to the interconnection costs, I disagree that those economies of scale could be realized for every project. I mean, this is an instance where to interconnect one project, the cost is 1.3 million. To do the second project, it'd be 413,000. So there's clearly some economies of scale there, but that's not necessarily the case. You could have a project where there really isn't a difference between the interconnection costs. There's no demonstrated savings to be able to make this more economic. So there are some distinguishing factors here that I think make this project compelling and distinguishable from the run-of-the-mill project, respectfully, Your Honor.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Chairman. If this item proceeds today, suspected problem. I want the record to be clear that we are not setting a low bar precedent for approval of these waivers. I don't know how you memorialize such a thing, but what I wanted to be very clear, I'm not going to rubber stamp these things when they come through. When Mr. Bugelman's comes in all the time, another series of cottage industry kind of waiver requests that we're going to approve. So state that.
Mr. Bugelman, is it fair to say that this project would not go forward if it was a 2 megawatt project?
That's correct, Your Honor. The economics of the single project just don't work.
So combined, it looks like if my math is right, you saved about 34% by doubling the size in terms of interconnection.
It's roughly correct, Your Honor.
Yeah. This has been a national issue in terms of funding and cost allocation of necessary transmission upgrades here. As Mr. Austin noted, the 5 factors that we're considering here in support of your good cause arguments, the one that resonates with me the most, because some of them is simple math too, 2 times 2 is 4. Well, there's 2 actually. The lack of LMI projects. These projects are dogs. Let's be honest. Lots of solar developers do not want to get into the LMI business, and we see that the tranches are available for capacity in most of the service territories. The fact that this would double this one project, this 1 4 megawatt project would double the LMI capacity in the entire service territory is not to be understated. The other factor is the lack of opposition. Sitting on this bench, I think my colleagues and I have seen a tremendous amount of opposition to any solar development, big, small, CSEGs or utility scale. So the fact that the locals in Garrett County at least do not oppose, we don't have anybody in the room today opposing that, weighs heavily on my decision to grant the waiver today. So thank you for that response, commissioners. Commissioner Richard and then Lyndon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just wanted to echo your remarks. For me, this was an important revision we made to the regulations recently. I think a large reason for me wanting to do this is because of the high hurdle that the low and moderate income projects had to clear to actually come into fruition, just as you noted, Mr. Chairman. And so, you know, I'm pleased that the developer is coming forward and using this new provision. I certainly respect Commissioner O'Donnell's concerns, but again, for me, it was just the difficulty that we've been facing in the state to try to get more of these LMI projects. For me, that is the reason to really make